record on the computer. Am I recording?
Yes.
Okay, it says you're okay. So now we're recording. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about your progression. You went from the 1 to the 3 to the 6 to the 2 to the 4 to the 1. Now, what I just did with my right hand was standard voice leading procedure. I'm going to play that again. When you have two roots that move a third and going um, from a C chord to an E minor chord is a third, you have two notes in common, the E and the G,
Hmm.
and one note moves in contrary motion to the bass by step.
Okay.
So if I went from a C chord to an E minor chord, I would have two notes didn't two fingers up here did not move, and one moved by common tone. By stepwise motion in contrary motion to the bass. If I went from an E to a G chord, which is not on the roadmap, by the way, but if I just did, just for argument's sake, I went from an E to a G, I also have two common tones and one note moved by step. If I went from the
Yeah.
so that and if you went the other way, now that see from a C chord to an A chord, from an A chord to an F chord, from an F chord to a D chord. In each case, I'm moving one note by a step. It's a different note each time, but I'm moving. I've got two common tones. When I go from the 3 chord, going back to your progression, from the 1 to the 3, if I go to the 6 chord, that's the movement of a fourth or a fifth. When you move by a fourth or a fifth, you have one note in common. In this case, the note in common is the E. And then the other two notes are going to move in parallel thirds or sixths in step by step. That's the simplest way to move that. So, and then the 2 chord is another fifth motion. The fifth and the fourth are inversions of one another. So the same thing's going to happen in both cases. So when I went from the E up to the A, I had the E in common. You see those parallel thirds. When I go
Mm.
from the A to the D, I'm gonna have the A is gonna be the note that's in common, and there are the parallel thirds up there.
Hmm.
And then from the 2 chord to the 4 chord, well, guess what? I've got another third, so I'm gonna have one note that moves in contrary motion. There's the contrary motion by step, contrary to the bass. And then from the 4 chord back to the 1 chord, the common tone this time is the C, which is common to both notes. And instead of parallel thirds, I've got parallel sixths. That's always going to happen, or at least it's one of the possibilities. But it's a good idea for you to master those possibilities. So what I would like you to do is to use those principles of voice leading, um, and write this out in 4 parts. Write a whole bunch of progressions in 4 parts. It's not a composition. It's kind of
Okay.
a harmony exercise, just to get to sort of expand your ears a little bit. Uh, the chord progressions need to follow the roadmap, and
Okay.
they need to follow these rules of common tone voice leading. The only one that so you had a root movement by a third, root movement by a fifth, another third, and another fifth. The only one you didn't have was the step. So if you went, let's say, from a 4 chord to a 5 chord, where do you have uh, root movements by step on the roadmap? So you've got the 3 going to the 4, you've got the 4 going to the 5, uh, you've got the 5 going to the 6, which I didn't put on
Hmm.
here, but that's the so-called deceptive cadence. So if I'm going to a 6 is possible. Of course, you don't stop there. That's a dead end. So if you go from a 5 to a 6, you got to go back to the 6. You could go back to a 6 to a 3 to a 4, zap to a 5, and back to a 1.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
you can you can watch that a few times on the video if you need to. Um,
Yes, I will do.
so when you have a root movement by a step, you move all three upper voices in contrary motion to the bass. So if I'm going from a 4 chord to a 5 chord, I want to move all three upper voices in contrary motion to the bass. If
Yeah.
I go from a to a 6 to a 5, I want to move in contrary motion to the bass. So the 6 goes down to 5, so all the notes are going to go up.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to follow all of that. Play around with it. The easiest way to do this is to play it and then write it down,
Okay.
because you want to be able to hear it. I mean, if you've got if you've got perfect pitch and you can hear everything, fine. But I don't, and it makes it much easier for me to do something like to. I just took your chord progression and made two phrases out of it. Okay,
Okay.
the first
Yeah.
one ended with the 4-1, and the second one ended with the 4-5. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So I
Yep.
will send you. I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to stop the. Where do I stop the recording? Did it stop?
I didn't get any notification.
Pause. Wait a minute. Stop the